Hey y'all, it's Holly. So, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail, I don't really have any visual representation to have for Quantum Solace. And unless I go ahead and buy the bullet buy another version of Skyfall and Spectre, I won't have anything for that either. I do have like in my previous one of my previous videos I showed you the Blu-ray collection, but there's no images on it. It's just the title. So I don't really have anything. Maybe I can get creative. Like I thought about trying to find an oil can for this one, but I think that may have been just too like obscure. I don't know. But either way, Con of Solace. Before I get too far in, please consider like for me and for the channel itself, subscribing, leaving a comment, throwing out a like, sharing this, all that jazz. Especially now, um, with how the YouTube algorithm is being wonky, or apparently desktop views is the weird thing now, and like they prefer people to watch it on their phones. It still could be ad blockers. I'm not sure either which way. Maybe watch my stuff on your phone. I don't know. Either way. Um, so, Quantum Solace. Okay, so it felt like I watched it for the first time again, which is the case. It's been years since I've seen it all the way through. Um, and when I first watched it, I liked it. So with this time, I vibed with it heavily. Um, uh, yeah, I actually really like this one. I'm not trying to be contrarian or anything on this, but um, the story was fine. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Bond being like revenge heavy with Vesper, at least. I feel like that, like even in the books, like it's not Vesper he's revenge heavy with. It's um, Tracy. But um, and so like I think they're kind of mixing that a little bit, like at the end of the beginning of You Only Live Twice, which is the sequel to second book after On Her Majesty's. He's on a revenge quest essentially, but revenge and depression. So like this, they kind of mix that in a little bit, but then they do it again with Madeline down the line. So I don't know, but I'm not a huge fan of that because once again, it's just dark Bond, and it's just cruel and just grumpy all the time, which there are Bond books where he's grumpy all the time, but he can be a little bit lighthearted on things and make at least inner monologue jokes. But besides all that, I like his character and I like Craig's acting's a bit better. I think the story works a bit more. Like if they really wanted to like mix it in with whatever group they were trying to say Lashif was helping with, sure. This does kind of follow in a weird sense the books, sort of, in the sense that Live and Let Live and Let Die was the second Bond book, and it once again was like how Lashif was trying to get money for Smersh. Live and Let Die was stopping Smersh from having another person giving them money. And so this one's kind of the same where uh, Green is one of like the other big money people for Quantum. Um, so it kind of follows the same thing. Oh yeah, by the way, I mentioned this in my review of the book or short story. Absolutely nothing to do with the short story Quantum Solace, in name only. The short story is just Bond listening to a guy telling him a story about a woman who cheated on the husband, but they both got screwed over, but the wife got a little bit better, and she was actually having dinner with him the whole time or something. I don't know. It was a morality story that was just nothing. But this is something. Um, I still like what is this? What is his actual name? One of them, Solace. Mateo Almeric. I don't know if I pronounced that right at all. Uh, One of the main guys that constantly reappears in Wes Anderson movies. As Dominic Green, good job. I love him as a villain. He's like the perfect evolution of like the sleazy businessman villain that Moore had a lot of. Um, and I would say his weakest part though is like his battle with Bond at the end, where he's just screaming. But that's his weakest part. For me, I do like him. He has a little bit that calm, threatening aspect to him. Um, let's see. Olga Olga Kurilenko or Kurilenko as uh, Camille Camille is excellent. One of the best Bond girls, honestly, especially in Craig's era, where she not only holds her own, amazing actress, amazing role too, but she is one of two Bond girls who does she? No, does not sleep with Bond. Um, Her and Wei Lin, Michelle Yeoh's character in Tomorrow Never Dies, are the only two Bond girls that don't sleep with Bond, which is very interesting. I do love that. Um, M plays a much better role in this. She's more in line with like the Brosnan M a little bit. Um, uh, Give me an interest. Huh. And I not think that the worst Bond girl in this is Gemma Anderson, Strawberry Fields, which her name's Strawberry Fields. Say her fucking name. Be silly. Dang it. Because they try to go for a little bit more silliness. That is the thing, actually, with this movie that I do like. Even when it first came out, it did feel like they would kind of go a bit more Maury, John Roger Maury, a little bit, because once again, the name Strawberry Fields, businessman, evil villain kind of thing. Um, and what I noticed was character reactions. Moore had a very interesting quirk with some of his movies where either characters do a weird double take, like the infamous pigeon, or characters would just be standing there like, huh, what's happening there? This one, it was near the beginning where Bond's chasing the guy around Italy. Um, he knocks over this like old Italian woman's stuff. He's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. Um, which is classic Moore thing, which is focusing on like themes like sanity there. Um, so there's a little bit of more kind of stuff there. Um, but yes, I really like the story with this. I like that it's like tied up the Vesper thing really nicely. Like if they just left it there, the Vesper thing, all that jazz there, which I think they tried to do with Skyfall, I think it would have worked a lot better. But we'll get to that when we get to Spectre. Um, I do like that, we're bringing back Universal Exports. I do kind of wish that they changed it. It does get changed in the 80s, in the 80s books, under different writers. But I get it. Um, there's a lot I like about this. Like, so the most of it's character and writing stuff, honestly. Tanner's good in this. I think Felix is slightly better, but still not book Felix. For Craig being praised like, oh, it's the closest to the books. Felix, granted, Felix has never been done right, but Felix in this, still definitely not right. Like, he's just not that serious of a person. In the books, he's happy, he's jovial. He's making weird jokes. Just that, like, when he's, like, lost an arm and a leg, and, like, he's just torn apart by the end of the series, and he's just like, yeah, maybe I should stop hanging out with you. I keep losing bits at me. It's like, you can still make jokes. but in these ones, he's too serious. Um, David Harbour is great in it. I kind of wish he had a bigger role, like if he was like the main secondary villain kind of thing, like one of the main henchmen. That would have been nice, but I feel like they would have already spread out too much. They could have had more. Other Bond movies have worked better with more villains, because like you have the general who's does his own thing, and his story only really hits up with Olga's character with Camille. Then you have Elvis, the main henchman, who doesn't do anything. Honestly, he could have died falling down the stairs when Strawberry Fields tripped him, and I think that would have been fine. No one would have cared. We're like, okay, sure, whatever. Um, in a weird way, like I do complain sometimes about Bond being a little cold, but the ending of how he defeats Green, great. I do love that. Where he's like, you can walk, and you'll probably be drinking that oil. Bye. Like, fun, fair, good. Um, the biggest issue with this movie is a near constant with me for all the Bond movies. Sorry. But a near constant for all the Bond movies is pacing. Most of the time, it's slow pacing. This time, it's fast. It's different. So during like the actual dialogue scenes and normal parts, the pacing, like the sort of sped up pacing, completely fine. Love it. It's where the action is, and this is the main issue most people bring up. It's is the editing. The editing for the action scenes are terrible. The idea being that the movies were clearly influenced by the Bourne movies and the shaky cam kind of stuff that Greengrass was doing. But, granted, I hate shaky cam stuff, but Greengrass knew what he was doing. They worked there. This doesn't work at all. It's so hard to follow some stuff like the chase in Italy. I'm like, where are they? How did they get there? What is happening? I don't know. Um, it's all over the place. That said, though, that brief fight within the chapel, the church part near the end, was cool. That part was cool. Um, the little bit where he's running through the opera house, while they're singing and stuff, and they're shooting at him, that was neat. Um, the airplane stuff, fine. I think the worst offenders is really the beginning with the car chase, and the most of the Italy chase is incomprehensible for the most part. Not 100% incomprehensible, but still very close. I think this movie gets a bad rap, um, mostly because it is this more classic Bond movie out of a series that tried to be serious. I think that's the biggest downfall for it. I do really appreciate that for that. Like I had fun watching this. Like this was that was the thing that made it for me the first time is that I had fun. That's what I want from a Bond movie is having fun. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, that's really thoughtful, blah 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 blah. Like that's nice and all, sure, when done right, but you still gotta have fun. Even like the darkest like Dalton or Brosnan movies still were fun. Even freaking Majesty Secret Service was still fun, and that's incredibly dark. Um, that was the ending, but yeah. Uh, I kind of wish they went a different direction. I do very much wish they went with a different direction further down the road. Kind of stuck with this, but I get it. I feel like this would have gone down a lot better if the action editing was better. Like, I feel like more people would have liked this because there were some good scenes that could have been done really well if the action was done better. Like I said, like Olga's story, Camille's story, with especially the general and stuff, done very well. Her like being like, yeah, I want revenge, and then dealing with like, I don't really want revenge. Good. The fact that this movie was both sides about revenge was very interesting. Sorry, I don't have any water on me, so oh well. But um, like Bond getting revenge, and you could tell like he didn't really want it. That's actually a really good point. So Olga Camille gets her revenge on the general, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't really like that I did that. That doesn't really feel good. I'm still traumatized, but also, everything was on fire, so fire bad for me." Um, but Bond sees her reaction and kind of realizes is like at the very end where he finds the guy who kind of set up Vesper, killed Vesper, and all that jazz. He's like, "Yeah, no, I left him alive. Like, I don't need that closure. Helping someone else out with their closure was closure enough." And that's really interesting. And that is the kind of stuff I want to see. That's like that fits very much with like like Brosnan a little bit with World's Not Enough, fits with Dalton a bit too, like that kind of era of Bond. Um, yeah, I enjoyed this one. It's like much more than I thought I would. Again, I don't know where it's gonna place in my final ranking, but it's definitely going to be above two of them. So it may be middle of the pack. So we'll see down the line. I feel like I'm just becoming contrarian and like just surprising people with my rankings. I don't know. None of you will comment your own rankings and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I got. I got Skyfall next. I don't remember a whole lot of it really, other than the escape and a little bit of uh, Sylvia's stuff and like maybe the ending. So that's gonna be interesting, I guess. Um, but until then, I'll see you.